4% of the U.S. population are atheist. 5% of the U.S. population are agnostic, and 20% of the U.S. population are irreligious, but they are neither atheist nor agnostic. What that means is that the fastest growing religious demographic in the United States is not atheism or even agnosticism. It's a new theist irreligion. These people still believe in a higher power, but they've given up on organized religion. And I think it's important to address that, because if you look around and look at any kind of public discussion about anything, you'll find people represent different religions, and then you'll find that you have these different mainstream religions, and then you have people with their fringe, like New Age and these weird religions, and then you have atheists. But you have nobody representing the vast majority of the irreligious who actually do believe in a higher power. So I want to make a video to address that, and I think it's important that the atheists, the irreligious, stop letting themselves be gaslit. Because what happens is, 70% of the irreligious believe in a higher power, but I guarantee you that 70%, every single one of them, thinks that they're a minority. They think that they're surrounded by much smarter atheists and agnostics, and this is because of the narrative that the atheists have created. They've convinced them, look, you believe in a higher power, that's fine, but keep it to yourself. And the higher power itself is just a neurochemical reaction, and the coincidences that you see that convince you that there's a God. I needed money and I found the exact amount of money I needed on the street, thank God. Well, that's just pattern seeking. So all these things are easily explainable. So if you want to believe in a God, despite the fact these things are easily explained away, go ahead and do it, but keep it to yourself. And so you have this irreligious population where the vast majority of them, well over 2/3 of them, believe in a higher power, but they all keep their mouths shut for the sake of this minority of about 13-14% of them, of the irreligious, who are atheists, who are telling the rest of them to shut up for their own sake. So you have 4%, that's the irreligious population. It's 13% of the irreligious population, but the atheists actually make about 4% of the total population. 90% of Americans believe in a higher power, and you have these 4% telling the rest of them, shut up, keep your views to yourself, because the rest of us don't want to hear it. And it's just absurd. It's gaslighting. It's straight up gaslighting. And I think it's very important that we turn around and we stop this nonsense. Atheism is absurd. It's absolutely absurd. It doesn't comport with any cohesive logical worldview at all. Start with evolution. You believe in evolution, you believe in natural selection. Okay, well, what does natural selection have to say about religion? Well, natural selection gave us these neurochemical religious experiences to make us better adapted to our environment. Natural selection selects for theism. It selects for the belief in a higher power. And if you look at everybody talks about the Western civilization's really bad fertility rates. Like we're literally going extinct. Our fertility rates are too low to replace ourselves. But if you look deeper at these fertility rates, you'll find that it's the irreligious who have the low fertility rates. The Christians and U.S. Christians, their fertility rate's 2.1. They're actually replacing themselves, and I think the same thing is true in Europe with the European Christians. The low fertility rates are purely the irreligious, and I think this gaslighting and so what you have is you have these atheists and you have these irreligious who turn around and they think they're more evolved for becoming an evolutionary dead end, for dropping out of the gene pool, becoming evolutionary dead ends. These people think that they're more evolved than the religious people who are still participating in evolution, still actually participating in evolution. The people who are actually participating in evolution are not as evolved as the people who are dropping out of the gene pool and dying off. It's absurd, and I think the irreligious who still believe in a higher power need to speak up and let everybody know that it's actually the atheists who are the jerks who are annoying the hell out of everybody else and telling everybody else to keep their views to themselves, and it's not helping anything. And if you look at the state of the world, I mean, you look at the ridiculous things that people believe now that we're not even allowed to say that they're ridiculous, lest we get in trouble, we lose our jobs or whatever other kinds of soft oppression you have. It's not legal oppression. It's much softer, but it's still nonsense. And these absurdities are being propagated, and we need to realize that it's nonsense, and that there is a higher power. We are all aware of it. It's evolved common sense. This perception of a higher power. It's evolved common sense. The atheists who deny, it, if you try to challenge them, you say, well, why shouldn't I believe in my evolved senses? The atheist will turn around and say, atheism just means I don't believe in God. I don't have to defend my view. Atheists never justify their denial. They never justify their cynicism. All they do is say, I just don't believe you. I don't have to justify it. I don't have to come up with an argument that makes sense. Atheism doesn't have to make sense. Atheism is just cynicism. It doesn't make sense according to evolution. So if you look at evolution, what an atheist generally will say is, okay, well, just because we have evolved this ability to perceive a higher power doesn't mean that just because we've evolved this ability to perceive a higher power and it makes us better adapted to the reality, as if it made us more aware of our environment, just because it looks like that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So you say, okay, fine. Let's look at the other science. If you look at the standard model, the physics standard model, the most widely accepted explanation for the existence of the universe is M theory. Now, what does M theory say? And well, M theory says that there's this infinite totality of every universe that could possibly exist, and this multiverse exists outside of the scientific laws of this universe, and of course this multiverse that exists outside the scientific laws of our universe, beyond the scientific laws of our universe, brought this universe into existence. Now, if you speak English and you don't make up your own definitions for words, what this means literally by the literal English language definition is that the most widely accepted scientific explanation for the existence of the universe is that it came from that it has an infinite creator that transcends the laws of this universe. When the atheist, if you actually confront an atheist who's honest enough to actually admit that that's the case, what they'll turn around and say, look, just because there's an infinite creator of the universe that's beyond the laws of physics doesn't mean that it's a personal creator. They go on the deist thing. That at most you might have a deism, but if you put them both together, if you put both views together, you put the fact that we've evolved the ability to perceive this higher power, plus the fact that this higher power exists according to the physics, then it is obviously it's a personal higher power, because we've evolved these religious experiences. We've evolved the ability to perceive it. So on one hand, they said just because you can perceive a higher power doesn't mean it's real. Just because you can perceive a personal higher power doesn't mean it's real. And then they come over here and say, just because there is an infinite creator that's beyond the laws of physics doesn't necessarily mean it's personal. But the fact that we have evolved these personal experiences does make it personal. So when you put them all together, theism is absolutely supported by every cohesive worldview. Atheism is not supported by any cohesive worldview. So I think what's really important for the irreligious is that they understand that we need to get rid of this atheism. If you want to evolve, if you don't want to go extinct, if you actually want to find an answer and you actually want to evolve and improve, then what we need to do is begin with the understanding and acknowledging the absolute absurdity of atheism. And once you since atheism is absolutely absurd, and try to reconcile atheism with any cohesive worldview, just like I did real briefly with evolution and the standard model of science. This is science. The two legs that atheism stands on completely, they don't support atheism. So it's all gaslighting. It's all nonsense. And since atheism is such nonsense, it makes agnosticism less reasonable than theism. So we need to absolutely eliminate this nonsense of atheism and acknowledge that there is a higher power, and then start from there and figure out what we're going to do. And that's what I hope to do, and that's where these videos are going to come in. I hope you like them. Like, subscribe, do everything you're supposed to do, ring bells. I have no idea. I'm not much of a YouTube personality. I opened a fortune cookie and decided, and the fortune cookie told me I need to do this in so many words. So I hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, like, subscribe, comment, do everything else you have to do. Ring bells, do everything, and so that I can make a living doing this. Thank you. Bye.